I call to order the meeting of the Verona Plan Commission for Monday, February 2nd, 2026 at 6:31 p.m. We'll begin with the roll.
Hernandez? Hernandez?
Not online.
Okay. Wood?
Here.
Powers?
Here.
Diaz?
Here.
Taylor is absent. Swanson?
Here.
And Hankard.
Here.
Okay, that's enough people for quorum, so we can proceed. We'll move on to item 3, which is public comment. Although I do want to point out that we do have 2 public hearings later in the agenda. So if you're here regarding the Ardent Glen subdivision, we ask that you testify under item 5, or if you're here for the preliminary plan for a planned development to construct a 130-unit senior housing facility by Morningside Boulevard, we'd ask you testify under number 6. That being said, I'm not going to stop anyone because public comment is open to anyone. So we're in public comment generally right now. So if anyone wishes to comment, now would be the time to do so. Seeing.
I'm sorry, I could not, you were going so quickly, it kind of just ran. Is this for the Ardent Glen public comment right now?
No, that's for under item 5.
Okay.
So, okay, I'm good. I kind of thought people were here for the 2 public hearings. All right, with that, we'll move on to item 4, which is approval of the minutes from the January 5th, 2026 Plan Commission meeting. Questions, comments, corrections, or motions to approve? Commissioner Powers.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Powers. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Woods. Last chance for corrections. Seeing none. All those in favor of approving the minutes from the January 5th, 2026 Plan Commission meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, no? And that motion passes. With that, we'll move on to item 5, which is regarding the preliminary and final plan development amendment to add 19 lots to Ardent Glen subdivision located north of County Highway PD and west of Shady Oak Lane. Before we open the public hearing, can we get a brief overview, Mr. Sievertson?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Yeah. So.
Public hearing is being held for a preliminary and final plan development amendment to add 19 lots to the Ardent Glen subdivision located north of County Highway PD and west of Shady Oak Lane. A legal notice was published in the Verona Press on January 15th and January 22nd. Personal notice was sent to properties within 250 feet, and signs were posted along County Highway PD and Shady Oak Lane in front of the subject property.
Thank you. And with that, I will move we open the public hearing on this topic. Is there a second? Seconded by Alder Swanson. All those in favor of opening the public hearing on this topic, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Commissioner Hernandez, how do you vote on this one?
Aye.
All right. With that, we will open the public hearing on this topic at 6:34 p.m. So if you were here to comment on the Ardent Glen thing, now would be the time to do so.
Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity to talk about the Ardent Glen project. I've been here before, a couple of years ago when this was in the seminal stages of development. I was part of the group of people that were strongly asking for opposition to this development. Well, it didn't go anywhere, and it was kind of frustrating because I kind of felt that no matter what we said, it just really did not hold a whole lot of weight. And so it almost seems like tonight's another exercise in futility, because when you have a project of like 400 homes, people are going to say, well, what's another 19? The problem is so many times when towns and cities approve these projects, and for 10 years back in the 80s, I was executive director of the Madison Builders Association, so I saw a lot of what was going on with various projects and developments. The city approves something, it gets started, and then the cow's out of the barn. And then the company comes back and asks for revisions, and the city's it's almost impossible to say no. And I've got a feeling this is where it is right now. I know that the city of Verona is very enamored with the idea of the tax base that's going to be accrued from this development. I know that, and 19 more homes means 19 more tax dollars as far as households paying. But as we said before, and I will not belabor it because, like I said, we've been down that road already, but the traffic flow is just outrageous what's going to happen there because I live on Rolling Meadow Road and Shady Oak, right below our house, it's already flooded with cars going back and forth to Epic every day. And I'll be honest, I'm not an old fossil that just, those young whippersnappers are driving too fast, not at all. But they fly down that road. And all of a sudden, you're going to add even more homes into an area that the infrastructure just doesn't support all those homes. And I realize that not everyone's going to go on Shady Oak. I realize that. But a lot of them will, because it's the closest way to go if you're going to be heading to West Town or that other direction. So I know that there has been, I'll just say this, I'm watching my time, and I appreciate that, so I can keep track of that. There were some people on the Plan Commission a couple years ago that voted against it, and I really was very, very, very appreciative because I didn't think we had any support. I don't know what's going to happen this time because, again, I think the attitude is, well, what's 19 more homes when you have so many? But every home does make a difference, and it is really going to mess up the traffic. If you live there and you saw what's going on now, before these homes have even started, I'm very fearful what's going on. And then you throw in all the bicyclists that use Shady Oak all the time. It's unbelievable. So with that, I will cut my comments short. I don't know if they had any difference at all. I just respectfully ask that you consider this very carefully. It's not just 19 more homes. It's just adding to a very, very large development that was, I think, was not the best, but that's my personal opinion. But I really do appreciate your attention, and I ask for your opposition to this proposal. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We're still in the public hearing regarding the Arding Glen subdivision. So if anyone else wishes to speak, now would be the time to do so.
My name is Joe Tucker. I live on Shady Oak Lane across the street from Ardent Glen subdivision. I have questions. I realize you aren't going to answer questions I pose because this isn't a discussion. What I'm going to do is ask questions of you anyway and hope that you'll ask them of staff and applicants and get answers before you make any decisions. First question is this. This subdivision had what I think was a final plat some years ago. Why would the city want to amend that plat? What's the use in that? It's approved. We know what we have to live with. Why change it? Second question is, do you want to leave the public, the neighbors, believing that when the city says final, it doesn't mean final? What's the, why would you do that? Does it mean that we can't rely on the city to make an approval and stick to it? Seems like that might erode public trust in the process a little bit. Third question is, have you looked at all the ramifications of adding 5% more units to an already extremely high-density project in a rural area? More traffic. You've already just heard that there's a ton of traffic on Shady Oak Lane. It's going to become more of a problem. More stormwater runoff, less parkland per unit of dwelling now, more bright lights to pollute the night sky and waste energy. That's a significant problem in that area. And lastly, can someone look more closely at whether the development that's being constructed actually conforms with city zoning and good practices? The night lighting, for example, is obnoxious and wasteful and unnecessary. And it's difficult to get an answer from anyone about what regulation even applies. Are they going to build the entire subdivision without adopting any best practices on lighting? Trees. It's really barren out there. It would begin to help if somebody planted trees. It would help keep hot spots out of that area. It's pretty hot and humid down in that valley during the summer, and it might help to mitigate break the light up a little bit. So I urge you to ask all these questions, and I urge you to deny this amendment. I think a better development could be obtained by thinking about how the future residents and neighbors are affected, rather than by cramming more units in. Thank you.
Thank you. We are still in the public hearing regarding Arding Glen. So if anyone else wishes to speak, now would be the time to do so.
Good evening, everyone. Brian Munson with Vanderwall and Associates here on behalf of Ridian Homes on behalf of the applicant. So tonight, we're here discussing an opportunity to incorporate some additional diversity of housing, not just for the neighborhood, but also within the community. This is a fairly typical analysis that we do on neighborhoods of this size throughout Dane County. As we work through them, we always have an eye towards the overall market and the needs of the community in terms of opportunities for housing and making sure that the next phases continue to deliver those opportunities. So what you see today is a kind of analysis of where the market is, and as we've heard lots, time and time again in the news, attainability and price point is really a key component. And so what we're doing with this request tonight is to kind of rebalance what lots are being brought on, not just within this neighborhood, but across the entire portfolio on the west side, to make sure that the type of housing that we're proposing in the neighborhood matches with the type of housing and the price points that the community is looking for. And so in this project, what we're proposing tonight creates 19 additional single-family homes. We've worked very closely with staff and appreciate their input throughout to take into account things such as traffic projections, the zoning components, stormwater management, all the pieces that go into the design of a neighborhood, and making sure that we answered their questions before we got here tonight. We have continued to supply additional information in terms of on-street parking and all the components that go into the creation of the neighborhood. And I would note that, again, we're not changing any right-of-way. This is really looking at the lot delivery within the neighborhood and opening up opportunities to continue to deliver housing that's attainable to the general public. So we are not changing any of the standards, and all of the house types that are being proposed within this amendment area have been built within the neighborhood already, and really build upon the adopted zoning. So what we're talking about tonight is a remapping exercise that creates those lots and the housing types that match up with the community need. So again, we really appreciate the input from staff that we've had to date and the working relationship we've had with the community in implementing the project through to this point, and would be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. We are still in public comment, so if any other members of the public wish to speak regarding the Arding Glen subdivision, now would be the time to do so. Seeing no one else approaching the microphone, I will move to close the public hearing on this topic. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Wood. All those in favor of closing the public hearing on this topic, say aye.
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 Opposed, no. And the public hearing is closed at 6:44 p.m. Mr. Severson.
Thank you. If we can get the slideshow pulled up. The applicant has submitted a request for a plan development amendment and preliminary plat to add 19 lots to the overall plan. The development is located north of County Highway PD and south and west of Shady Oak Lane. The existing plan development approval was granted in December of 2022. The request amendment would allow the proposed lot reconfigurations. The additional 19 lots will be created by modifying 6 separate blocks within the existing subdivision. And as the applicant's representative said earlier, none of the right-of-way is changing. The lots are changing, and some outlots are being added, but the right-of-way is staying the same. The graphic here shows the blocks where modifications are proposed. Narrower lots are being proposed, which results in allowing more lots on each block. In some cases, private alleys are being reconfigured or introduced to blocks where lot widths are less than 50 feet wide. The alleys allow garages to be accessed off of the rear of the property rather than having front-loaded garages with frequent curb cuts along the street. alleys are part of the previously approved plan development and are platted as private outlots to be maintained by the homeowners association. The proposed lot sizes were introduced in the the proposed lot sizes were included in the previous approval, so no additional exemptions are needed. Staff requested an updated phasing plan to show how the lot reconfiguration would change the development phasing. The applicant has begun work on Phase 4, which will continue through 2026. Phase 5, located near Shady Oak, is anticipated to begin in 2027. That would obviously be, we need to do a separate development agreement for that. City staff have received comments about lighting in the development and have passed those comments along to the applicant and developer. They're aware of these concerns and are looking into addressing them. It should be noted that the applicant is not seeking an exception to the city's lighting regulations. So if there is a violation out there or in the future, that would need to be corrected. Staff is supportive of the requested plan development amendment. The requested exemptions are consistent with the existing approval, and the additional lots are the same size as previously approved lots for Ardent Glen. Staff recommends approval of the preliminary and final plan development amendment and approval of the preliminary plat with the conditions listed on page 13 of the report.
Thank you for that explanation. Okay, so we will start on 5A, which is the discussion and possible action regarding the preliminary and final plan development amendment to add 19 lots to Ardent Glen subdivision located north of County Highway PD and west of Shady Oak Lane. I guess I'll start out by asking Mr. Sievertson a question. There were some questions that came up during public comment. I know you addressed the one about the lighting. Is there other comments you'd wish to make?
Yeah, there was a comment about this, there being a final plat. And the final plat is approved at each phase of the development. So right now, there are two. There was the initial final plat for the first phase, and then there was, I forget how it's described, but there's been a second approval for the final plat. So final plats are not necessarily done for the whole development at once, but they're done in phases. As far as the amendment process, amendment requests are not uncommon, and there's portions of the code which state how those amendment requests are done. So it's not necessarily out of character for a development or of any approval to seek an amendment down the road. I think that was it, unless.
There was a question, I think, or a comment regarding tree planting. I know it shows up in the staff report as well. Has the applicant told you their plans for planting trees?
Yeah, so parkway trees are something that would get done after the development is completed or after the homes are in place. And I know there was a transition, well, there's multiple phases of this project, and also a transition in the Parks Department. So, but I believe they are looking at installing those in the spring. But it will be a phased process. They don't typically want to install parkway trees until the construction is completed so that the trees aren't damaged.
Okay, thank you. Questions, comments, or motions on this item from the Planning Commission? And Commissioner Hernandez, I can't see on the screen right now because we have the PowerPoint up, so just, okay, never mind, I can now. Questions or comments from the Planning Commission, or motions? Alder Swanson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is really more of a comment. As the Common Council representative, I feel I should bring my perspective for why I was elected to Common Council to bear. Part of what I ran for was supporting an increase of density an increase in support for a variety of housing. And I think that while I share similar concerns about the livability of Verona, as some of the public comment has reflected, I feel I also should support what I ran for, and I don't perceive this increase of 19 homes to what is already a heavily dense single-family area to be out of line with that. That said, this is up on the north end of my part of town, and I have similar concerns about the traffic flow. I know that it said in the report that analysis has suggested the addition of 19 units will not affect long-term traffic projections beyond what's already anticipated. But I am curious if either Mr. Stevenson or our city engineer could speak a little about the sort of long-term outlook for development of traffic in that area.
Who wants this one? Ms. Fisher.
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about Shady Oak. So that intersection was reconstructed with the County Highway PD project. Shady Oak itself needs reconstruction, and that's slated to happen as part of this Ardent Glen development. It has not yet happened. We're just starting to look at what that road might lay out to look like. So, you know, that traffic impact analysis that was done as part of this development showed that there were turn lanes needed, and I was just double checking, and some of those were installed on County Highway PD. There is the width to have a turn lane that's southbound from Shady Oak to PD. And then they'll need to be, you know, accordingly as Ardent Glen connects, like on the east side of the development to Shady Oak, there'll need to be turn lanes and things like that there. So typically what we see in the city is these more rural agricultural roads. They're just not meant to handle the, you know, suburban type development that we see. And so we do require, as part of the development agreement, reconstruction of the roads to our more typical urban type cross-section. And then we'll have a bike lane planned for this one as well for southbound bikes.
Anything else, Mr. Severson, or Alder Severson? Alder Swanson, sorry.
You'll get there, Mr. Mayor.
Third time's a charm.
That satisfies my question. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Powers, then myself.
I would echo Alder Swanson's comments about supporting the density. I'm sympathetic to your concerns around additional homes in an area that did not have a lot of homes before, but I think my take is that Verona needs housing, and this is a chance to add additional housing to Verona in a place that is going to have a lot of homes, and this will just be a few more that will make it even more opportunities for people to live in Verona. I did have a question on the lighting concerns. How do we check and enforce the lighting in the neighborhood? It sounds like they're not exempt from any of the rules, but how do we actually ensure that they're following them?
Yeah, so the city's lighting requirements have a cutoff, or I guess a limit of 0.4 foot candles at the property line. And so that's more, I guess, micromanaging lighting at the property line. I think a lot of the lighting that the neighbors in the town especially are concerned with is not necessarily that 0.4 foot candles at the property line, but more just like any development that has lighting, there's going to be some lighting that creates a glow, you know, above it. There's certain lighting that minimizes that amount of glow. One of the standard ways at reducing that is making sure that lighting is shielded, and that it's also pointing down as opposed to horizontal or up. And so the city would not not permit or allow lighting to be unshielded or lighting that's pointed upwards. So if that is the case, that would need to be removed.
Gotcha. Thank you. Appreciate that. I think the other thing that I had noted, we've been, you know, as we add more homes to this neighborhood, I know we've been having a conversation with the developers around the parkland in that area, which they are already constructing and have already built a nice facility for a playground and a shelter and a bathroom. But I know we've had some back and forth on the basketball court and the pickleball courts that are currently in the photos that you provided. So I was just curious if you can answer this question. I'm not sure if you're prepared to, but is the current drawing that you've submitted in the amendment, is that accurate to the parkland that you're planning to build? Because I know we've had some questions about if those were still forthcoming.
If the applicant would like to answer the question.
So as you mentioned, yes, the playground equipment has been installed, the bathroom constructed, as well as many of the park facilities there. That park is intended to be kind of phased in as we move through the project. And I believe that those courts are still part of the discussion of kind of pending phases as we keep moving into the project. But I would have to double check with Floridian and the timing of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think, with the addition of additional housing is going to come with the, requirement for obviously parkland and for people to have somewhere to go and exercise. So I would encourage your group to look at that again and to make that park look like what is visualized here. I think this looks like a beautiful park that you've drawn with 4 pickleball courts and a basketball court to go along with it.
Yep.
That's it for me.
Calling on myself, I just want to echo what Commissioner Powers said about the parks. We expect the parks to be completed as we were promised. I think it's really important for that neighborhood, and I think it's valuable for you guys because it makes the whole subdivision more valuable. As far as the additions itself, I'm fine with this. For a lot of this, I think what other people have said as well, I'm in support of more housing, and I'm in support of a more variety of housing. We've had a lot of multifamily come into the city, and I think that's great. However, we haven't had as much single family come into the city, and we've had people show up to city council meetings and say, hey, you guys should let more single family come into the city. And so when a developer comes and says, hey, we want to put 19 more homes for people into this subdivision, I think it's a good idea. And and members of the public who I've heard from think it's a good idea as well. So to me, this is a clear and obvious thing to do. In regards to, the city being enamored of tax revenue, that's not really how we support neighborhood design or anything like that. If it was purely tax revenue, every building would be 10 stories tall. And that's clearly not the case. So to me, it's like, I think what Viridian is doing is building a great neighborhood for people, and they're going to be a great part of our community in Verona. And if they want to add 19 more houses, I think that just means 19 more families get a benefit from this community that's being built. So I'm all in favor of it. Other questions or comments from the Planning Commission? Alder Swanson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to revisit the discussion about lighting. I don't want to get stray too far afield, but I have become more concerned about the impacts of especially blue light exposure. I know that there hasn't been in-depth scientific study about what the long-term effects are, but we've seen low-level studies that have indicated that the amount of blue light that we are getting as people is not healthy civilizationally. So I would encourage the developer to, when they're looking at installing lights, explore things that are not just bright white, cheapest off the rack LEDs that will last forever. Consider the nature of what we are filling our neighborhoods with, and perhaps that will improve the impact on neighbors.
Other questions or comments from the Planning Commission? Commissioner Hankard.
All right, for the sake of a balanced conversation, if nothing else, I'm going to take the contrarian viewpoint. And so, I mean, they could, if they're responding to the market and the market is saying, hey, we'd really like some smaller, more affordable lots, I imagine that's what is driving this. Okay, fine, you could shrink up those units and you'd be left with some land if you kept the number of units the same. You could. That is an option. So we could serve that market. Now, you're not adding 19 more units, but we already had an agreed-to number on this project, did we not? We had an overall unit count. So to the citizen's point about, is a deal a deal? What it was 400 and something before, and then now we're just going to say, 19 more is no big deal. I don't know. At what point do you draw that line? At what point is it a big deal? I mean, do we always allow developers just to come in and ask what they want for, and we just say, here you go? What's in it for the city to approve these 19 units? I guess it's more housing. But we could have put, like you said, we could have put a 100-story tower on this thing and just been done with it right from the get-go. So I do think there is a valid point has been made about when developers come back to us, We saw this with the T-Wall development. It started out as a Home Depot and something, and then boom, all of a sudden it's a high school and some apartments. I mean, the market changes, I get that. And these guys have to respond to that, I get that too. But I think for the city just to automatically say it's no big deal is a bit of a dangerous path for us long-term. I think maybe it will make the developers think more clearly about getting an approval. When they get that first approval, that's the number they're gonna build. And not, oh, well, we'll come back next year and we'll up phase 2. And I'm not saying that they're being nefarious about it, but well, let me ask you this one question, Lucas. Have you ever seen a developer come back and say, we want to build fewer units than we were approved for? Has that happened on your watch?
I don't know. I'm trying to, because I know like a lot of times it gets shuffled around. Like they're like 280, but a lot of times it's based on either something on their end. Like the engineers came back and said, you can't build X number of units, you have to build a few less, and it's not.
Sure, some sort of an engineering reason.
Yeah, but usually.
But here we're talking about a market, and and so there's a little advantage to the city in that we get more units, but there's certainly advantage to the developer. And the losing people in the equation are those that live around it and suffer the consequences of lights and traffic. And is 19 units going to break the bank in any of those departments? No, but it is scope creep. And they have a very valid point. So I urge us as a group to not be so keen to just say yes at all junctures and to ask the developers, well, why wasn't this thought about on day one?
Yeah, I think I did want to say something in both for you and for the developer as well. I guess for me, I regard the housing as a benefit. There's other things that I do regard as a red line. For example, the park stuff, like the park stuff can't change. Like we have to get what we were promised. And like, I hate I hate it when politicians do the act tough thing, right? But like, if you look at the previous meeting where FGG came and asked for the $3.2 million of TIF that they thought they were going to get, the council looked at it and said, you didn't meet your agreement, and we gave them nothing. And that's $3.2 million. And so like, I do feel like it depends what it is, right? Like if a developer crosses a red line with the council or the planning commission in one way, or what someone might regard as a red line, the planning commission and council might not care. But there are certain things the council absolutely does care about, and I think it would be probably people not meeting their TIF agreements and parks a lot. And so I feel like if the parks stuff doesn't happen, there's going to be a problem. But I feel like the housing stuff, at least for me personally, and I can't speak for any alders or anyone else at this table, to me the housing stuff I regard as a benefit, just because we get people asking us about single family homes, and I hear from people all the time that they love like living in Verona in an apartment, but they would love a chance to buy a house. And to me, this is a benefit to the community, I guess. So I guess no offense to the developer, but I guess I don't even think of like their equations. I just think this is beneficial to the community. Commissioner Wood.
I mean, I'll echo what a lot of people have said. I am not too concerned about 19 houses. Part of the reason is that, from what I know of this project, it started before I was here, and we have spent hours and hours discussing it and making changes and making requests. And so, to me, it's like Luke said. To me, I look at the housing as a benefit. So, yeah.
Other questions or comments or motions? Commissioner Hankard.
Okay, so the city gets a benefit, I agree with you. The developer probably gets a benefit. Like I said, the citizens not so much, so maybe the developer could make some kind of a commitment on the lighting. So with what was just discussed about lighting, I realize we have a regulation, an ordinance, perhaps they already meet it, I'm sure they do. But just, you're coming to the table asking for something, how about you give something?
Do you have a question for the applicant on lighting?
Thank you, Tyler, for steering me in
Happy to answer.
Do you hear where I'm coming from?
I do. And in fact, it was brought to our attention that there were some lights at the entrance that were improperly aimed. So when that was forwarded to us, the first thing Viridian did was to have the electrician turn them off. And we're happy to work closely with staff to make sure that they are properly aimed, and if they cannot be, then they will stay off. And those were some of the landscape uplighting. A vast majority of the lights in the neighborhood are the street lights. And so those are designed per city spec. And so we'll continue to implement those. But again, it was brought to Viridian's attention as part of this. And as I said, the first thing they did is said, okay, well, let's turn them off until we can figure out what a correct solution is. And if that can't be solved through a foot candle study, then they won't come back on. And we'll happily work with staff to do that.
Okay, that's good, thank you. But and sure, the streetlights perhaps you can't control, but there are lights on houses, which you guys build. I guess the homeowner could come in and put anything they want after the fact, but they get what you give them initially.
Yes.
I don't know if there's anything you can do in that department of, okay, you're putting in a 80 watt, you put in a 60 watt, or
Yep. It's a challenge. It's in that oftentimes, and actually what we've heard in this case too, is that it's the absence of light tends to get quite a few complaints as well from residents. So it is kind of a balancing act of making sure that there's enough light to create the environment that's appropriate for residential uses, but not too much light that there's spillover. Viridian does take it seriously and look at dark sky compliant fixtures and wattages. Again, the challenge being once they're installed, homeowners sometimes do make some changes, but a good example of their commitment is the lighting in the alleys. Those are all done via carriage lights on the garages rather than an overhead light fixture as a way to help bring that light down to where it's most effective, but also deliver it on an even lower light level basis across the entire alley. So it is something they take very closely and look at throughout the construction of their homes. I can certainly pass along the concern that's raised because, again, they're not interested in creating a light pollution situation, but they want to make sure that they're balancing the needs of the residents at the same time.
Any follow-ups, Commissioner Aker? No, thank you. Okay. Other questions or comments or motions on this item from the Plan Commission? I'm trying to find the spot in my packet so I can. Alder Swanson.
I'm going to proceed to move that we recommend the Common Council approve the preliminary and final plan development amendment for the Ardent Glen subdivision with the following exemptions and conditions. And then A, minimum lot area for the MR zone of 6,000 square feet to 2,550 square feet. B, minimum lot width from 50 feet to 31 feet for lots where garages are accessed from an alley. C, minimum corner side yard setback from 20 feet to 10 feet. D, minimum rear yard setback 20 feet to 2 feet for lots where garages are accessed from an alley. E, minimum paved surface setback from 5 feet to 2 feet. F, maximum lot coverage from 50% to 80%. G, minimum street right-of-way garage setback from 25 feet to 20 feet. H, minimum street right-of-way garage setback from 25 feet to 10 feet for garages accessed from an alley. I, minimum front yard patio, steps, uncovered and covered porches, decks, stoops, or similar appurtenances, that's a SAT word, which do not extend above the floor level of the adjacent building entrance from 20 feet to 14 feet. J, minimum side yard patio setback from 5 feet to 2 feet. K, minimum rear yard deck setback from 20 feet to 10 feet for lots without alley access. L, the preliminary and final plan development shall become effective upon the execution of a development agreement. And M, the preliminary and final plan development shall be subject to the city's adopted stormwater management requirements. I'm tacking on with the commentary provided today about access and lighting.
Motion by Alder Swanson. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Powers. Motion before the body. Questions or comments on the motion?
Staff just has a question about after M, there was a.
Yeah, so just sending on the commentary from today regarding access to the parks.
Okay, but not necessarily like a condition.
Not a requirement.
Okay.
As far as advisory feedback.
Okay, conditions and exemptions A through M in the packet. Okay. And that was the understanding of the second as well? Motion before the body. Questions or comments on this motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of recommending to the Common Council to approve the preliminary and final plan development amendment to add 19 lots to Ardent Glen subdivision located north of County Highway PD and west of Shady Oak Lane with the conditions and exemptions A through M as specified in the packet, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, no?
Aye.
And that motion passes. We'll move on to 5B, which is a discussion and possible action regarding the preliminary plat to create 425 lots and 34 outlots to Ardent Glen subdivision located north of County Highway PD and west of Shady Oak Lane. Mr. Severson, anything to add on this one?
Nothing necessarily to add to this, but just a clarification that this is a preliminary plat to reflect the modifications of the reconfiguration of the lots. There will need to be a final plat approved before development can happen on these lots.
Got it. Questions, comments, or motions on this item? Commissioner Wood.
I'll make a motion that to recommend the that the Common Council approve the preliminary plat for the Ardent Glen subdivision to modify 406 lots to create 425 lots and 25 outlots with the following conditions. Preliminary plat shall become effective upon execution of a development agreement, and the final plat shall have private alleys labeled as fire lanes.
Motion by Commissioner Wood. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alder Swanson. Motion before the body. Questions or comments on this motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of approving the preliminary plat to create 425 lots and 34 outlots to Ardent Glen subdivision located north of County Highway PD and west of Shady Oak Lane with the 2 conditions specified in the packet, signify by saying aye.
Question.
Oh,
You said 34 outlots, but I think the motion originally said 25.
oh, it says 34 on my printout. Is it 34 or 25?
It's 25 in the packet.
It is 25 in the packet, but it's 30, it's 34 on my
Yeah, I believe it's,
and it's
believe it's
34 on
20
the monitor.
I think that's,
That would be a difference of 9. Oh, no, we were having 19 was the difference. Okay, I thought that might have been it.
The lots move 406 to 425.
So the motion says 25, so we'll just count real quick right now. And
the plan's too small. Let's see here.
or I guess, does the applicant know? Is it 25 or 34?
I'm going to go off the report, which was 25. It's 25 in the report from staff, and I believe that again, that is the outlots, not the,
Yes, not
not the
the,
lots themselves. So I believe that is correct.
we can wait a couple minutes. I think it's important enough that we are accurate.
It's 34 for the whole development as a whole. So there may have been the confusion that like there's an outlot in just the preliminary plat goes up to outlot 25, but for the whole subdivision, 34 would be accurate.
Gotcha. So
So go with I'd go with the 34.
go with the 34. Okay.
Yeah.
We have a motion for 25 outlots. I am going to make a substitute motion that we recommend to the Common Council to approve the preliminary plat for Ardent Glen subdivision to modify 406 lots to create 425 lots and 34 outlots to Ardent Glen subdivision located north of County Highway M and west of Shady Oak Lane. With condition A, the preliminary plat shall become effective upon the execution of a development agreement, and B, the final plat shall have private alleys labeled as fire lanes. Is there a second? Second by Alder Swanson. And since this is a substitute motion, if this motion passes, it will replace the original motion, and if it doesn't pass, I guess we'll go back to the other motion, which is incorrect. So hopefully this one passes. Any questions or comments on the substitute motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of recommending to the Common Council to approve the preliminary plat for the Ardent Glen subdivision to modify 406 lots to create 425 lots and 34 outlots with the following conditions. A, the preliminary plat shall become effective upon the execution of a development agreement. B, the final plat shall have private alleys labeled as fire lanes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Oppose no?
No.
And that motion passes with Commissioner Hankard voting no.
And if I could clarify, my last vote, I also was voting no. I don't know if that was,
You got that, Mr. Seaver?
Understood.
okay, thank you.
Got it. Excellent. Okay.
Protest vote.
That motion passes. And thank you for clarifying that as well, just because. And since the substitute motion passed, we don't have to consider the original motion. With that, we will move on to item 6, which is regarding the preliminary plan for a planned development to construct a 130-unit senior housing facility located west of County Highway M and south of Morningside Boulevard and east of the proposed grassland terrace on the Midtune property. Can we get a brief overview, Mr. Severson?
Yeah, sorry, I had to minimize my presentation just a second. Public hearing is being held for a preliminary plan for a planned development to construct a 130-unit senior housing facility located west of County Highway M, south of Morningside Boulevard, and east of the proposed grassland terrace on the Midtune property. A legal notice was published in the Verona Press on January 15th and January 22nd. Personal notice was sent to the properties within 250 feet, and signs were posted along Main Street in front of the subject property.
Thank you. With that, we can open the public hearing, so I will move that we open the public hearing on this topic. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Swanson. All those in favor of opening the public hearing on this topic, say aye.
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 Opposed, no? And we're in the public hearing. We're on this topic at 7:17 p.m. So if anyone wishes to comment about the 130-unit senior housing facility, now would be the time to do so. Seeing no one approaching the table, I will move that we close the public hearing on this topic. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Powers. All those in favor of closing the public hearing on this topic, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no?
Aye.
And the public hearing is closed at 7:18 p.m. Mr. Severson.
Thank you. The applicant is requesting a preliminary plan of a planned development to construct a multi-story, 130-unit building with independent, dependent, and memory care located west of County Highway M, south of Morningside Boulevard, and east of the proposed grassland terrace. The property is zoned suburban commercial and is surrounded by vacant land to the north, zoned suburban commercial, County Highway M to the east, vacant land to the south of the town of Verona, and a stormwater pond to the west across Grassland Terrace right-of-way. The development would include 24 memory care units, 6 respite care units, 40 assisted living units, and 60 independent units, serving up to 161 residents. The independent and assisted living would be located in a 3-story portion of the building, while the memory care would be in a 1-story portion of the building. The project was reviewed as an initial review in January of 2025. Sorry, my computer's frozen. The current request is for a preliminary plan of a planned development. Further plans will be reviewed for the final plan, including detailed landscaping, building elevation, civil plans, lighting, and a certified survey map. The project is being reviewed as a planned development due to some use and bulk regulations exemptions. The memory care component is considered a community living use by the zoning ordinance, which as a use standard requires a 2,500-foot buffer in between other community living uses. In this case, the applicant has proposed the building further north so that it is not within the 2,500 feet of an existing community living facility. Staff, however, have encouraged the applicant to move further south so that it would not bifurcate the commercial land thereby creating a larger cluster of land for future commercial development. The building is currently proposed at 45 feet and would be conforming. However, staff has included a height exception in the request up to 51 feet, which would match the height of other buildings in the area. This would allow additional flexibility in design as the project furthers their design drawings and applies for final plan approval. The applicant is seeking one setback exception for the patio. So there's a patio on the east and west sides of the building. So the exception would allow the patio to be set back 10 feet instead of the required 20 feet from the property line. This exception would allow the patio to extend closer to the public sidewalk along the future Grassland Terrace and County Highway M. The proposed building, excuse me, design includes a mix of colors and materials. Stone base is incorporated along a majority of the first floor. Faux wood planks, batten siding, and divided light windows help provide accents to the building. The varying projections of the facade and the gabled roof lines help break up the face of the building along County Highway M. The development agreement is in the process of being drafted, and it is in an outline form at this point. A final draft of the development agreement will require additional stormwater management design work, as well as a determination of how the improvements will be paid. The design work will help determine if any additional easements or land dedications are necessary. It will also determine an accurate estimated cost of construction for the stormwater improvements. Overall, staff is supportive of the application, and the applicant has worked with staff to relocate the development further south, which staff is supportive of. The senior housing and community living uses are appropriate on the south edge of the commercial zoning district and will provide a transition from anticipated commercial uses on the north to the anticipated anticipated residential development to the south. Staff recommends approval of the preliminary plan with the conditions listed on page 17 of the report. And this will be, again, this is preliminary plan, so we'll need, these are not the final design drawings. They'll need to come back if the Plan Commission recommends this and the council approves the preliminary plan, the applicant will have a year to come back with their final plans. That's it.
Thank you. Any questions or comments on this one? Alder Swanson, then myself.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So initial thoughts are that I'm in favor of expanding senior housing in Verona. It's just another part of the variety of housing that we need. That being said, I know that this is far from the final plan, and we might not see it for another year, but I do have an initial thought. I'm not an expert on parking, but I have some concern about the placement of the handicap parking stalls. I might even suggest losing a parking spot in particular in the southern lot to allow for a wider, either a wider or split the difference between the two handicap stalls to make it easier to get out of vehicles in those spots. I might even also suggest flipping the orientations that the handicap stalls are next to the building as opposed to across the parking lot. I'm like I said, I'm not an expert on parking specifics, but those are things that immediately strike me as possibly being easier for people that have mobility needs to deal with as opposed to the current orientation. I don't know if the applicant has consulted with Stephanie Ayla, our Director of Senior Services yet, if she might have insight as to her expertise as well, but I would recommend that in the process of developing any sort of senior housing situation in Verona, insofar as she has the time to put that on her plate. But other than that, I think I'm generally on board with the plan as it stands right now.
calling on myself. Yeah, I just want to echo what Alder Swanson said, that it would be great to reach out to the senior center director. I think she'll have some good insight. I have a question for Ms. Fisher. I don't suppose you can give us an update on some of the utilities and how that's all progressing along, or not, as the case may be.
So we did just meet last week with both engineering teams for the two developers that have the combined storm water system. And so that is moving forward. There does need to be as part of this next development that occurs in the area, there does need to be a pump station and force main installed. So that's the piece that needs to get, kind of hashed out. But the conversations have been positive, and I think the developers both realize that they need to get that done.
Okay, well, that's really good to hear. Yeah, on the whole, I'm very supportive of this. Again, it's as I keep saying, yeah, I support a variety of housing, and this is just one more kind of housing that I think the area needs. I guess I'm not concerned about the exemption that it's near another community living facility. I'm not even 100% sure why we have that in the ordinance. I don't know. Do you want to address that, Mr. Seaman? I know we talked about this last time, but
Yeah, it's actually, it's a state law, and, but the state law does allow the local municipality to provide an exception for that.
excellent. Well, I will say that I guess I'm not concerned about the state law either, and I guess I understand why we have it in our ordinances if it's a state law. I guess the only other thing, and this might be an ignorant question, so forgive me if it is, but my understanding is that there's going to be memory care provided at this facility, and from my limited understanding of it is sometimes people with memory issues are prone to wandering. I'm wondering if there's any concern with that busy road next to the facility, and if you don't feel comfortable, I'd be happy to ask the applicant if they're
Yeah,
interested in answering.
there is a courtyard with fencing, but the applicant is here and can probably better explain that.
If you want to answer the question.
Sure. In regards to the, yes, we will be serving memory care
Just,
residents.
sorry,
Is
Want me to sit down? Okay.
yeah.
We will be serving memory care residents. As part of that, all of the doors in the memory care wing are in a lockdown mode.
Oh, okay.
So you need a special code or a fingerprint in order to be able to unlock the door and get out. And it's very, very closely monitored. I mean, it's one of the biggest concerns is to make sure there's no elopement from the community.
Excellent. Thank you. That makes me feel a lot better.
Yep.
Yeah, so that was my only concern, and I guess it's not a concern at all. So I'm happy to support this. Commissioner Wood, then Commissioner Powers.
Overall, I'm very supportive of this. The only thing that I'm not a super fan of is the patio setback from 20 to 10, just because it's so close to Highway M there that a little concerning, but otherwise, I don't have concerns about the other exemptions.
Commissioner Powers.
Also, just voicing my support for the kind of the tiered senior housing.
Other questions, comments, or motions? Commissioner Hankard.
I noticed in the packet that I think staff had recommended 60 underground stalls, and they're offering up 30. That's a pretty substantial differential. Does staff have any concern about that?
Mr. Severson?
It's something we don't have a lot of experience with. Some of the other senior housing facilities where we have memory care or like assisted living, the parking requirements have been reduced. In an ideal setting, each of the independent living facilities or independent living units would have an underground parking space, which would be consistent with our other requirements for any other multifamily housing. You could probably make an argument that, seniors might not have as many cars, but a 1-to-1 parking ratio for one underground stall per unit would be consistent with our other multifamily requirements. It's not a code requirement, so it's why staff wasn't pushing it, but it would 60 underground parking spaces would be more consistent with our multifamily requirement.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's a pretty significant shortfall. I mean, we've had issues lately, you know, with the event center, granted, much different use, understood, but that was denied largely on the basis of not meeting parking requirements. And I could understand being 5 or 10 stalls short, but half, that seems a little extreme to me.
And just to clarify, they're meeting their parking requirements. It's just that they're not all
Okay,
below grade.
all right. Okay, thank you
if
for
that-
that. That does make a difference.
Yeah, so they are providing the number of parking stalls. They're just not, they're not all below grade.
Okay.
Some of them are above grade.
All right, so it's not really a question of creating a parking issue, it's just more inside baseball as to whether or not their tenants are parking on the surface or underground, which is kind of on them. That doesn't spill over to us as a city, I don't believe. One other comment, if I may, the patio on M, I think Tyler mentioned it, you know, you're asking to push it closer. I'm not voting against you at all for this, but I do acoustics as a living, and, you know, M carries a bit of traffic. So it's not necessarily going to be the most peaceful balcony you've ever built. So just, you know, obviously if it was on I realize there's a lot that goes into laying out these sites. You have a lot of constraints. In a perfect world, it would be on the other side of the building from
Sure.
them. So that's just a comment.
That's fair.
You can take that and do what you will with it.
I guess I'll call on myself. I will move that we recommend to the Common Council to approve the preliminary plan to allow for the construction of a 130-unit independent, assisted, and memory care senior facility with the, I guess I have to read them, with the following exemptions. I, memory care, independent, and dependent senior housing to be located in the suburban commercial zoning district. 2, removal of the 2,500-foot buffer required in the community living that is memory care specific use standards. 3, the building height would be increased from 45 feet to 51 feet. And 4, patio setback from 20 feet to 10 feet. And with condition B, which is the approval shall become effective upon a final plan and the conditions of the final plan. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Powers. Motion before the body. Questions or comments on this motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of recommending to the Common Council to approve the preliminary plan to allow for the construction of a 130-unit independent, assisted, and memory care senior facility with the 4 exemptions and the 1 condition listed in the packet, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, no. And that motion passes. We'll move on to item 7, which is a discussion and possible action regarding the roadway discontinuance and vacation for portions of County View Road. Mr. Severson.
Thank you. The applicant is requesting a roadway discontinuance and vacation for a section of Country View Road. The city received a petition to discontinue and vacate portions of Country View Road from the adjacent landowners. These portions are shown in red on the graphic displayed. As part of the request, the applicant is, one of the applicants is deeding approximately 6.75 acres of land to the city of Verona, which will maintain access to the existing properties to County View Road. This area is shown in green. A future plat will show the dedications of all the new roadway and will consolidate other lots to create a clean plat. So this is sort of a multi-step process. This first process is to deed the right-of-way to maintain public access or access to public roads for all the lots, and then as well as vacating the roadway, which is no longer needed. And then most likely next month, we'll be reviewing an application for a new plat, which would include all of the dedication for the new right-of-way, new roadway, and that will also clean up some of the lots.
Thank you for that explanation. Questions, comments, or motions on this item? Alder Swanson.
So at risk of seeming perhaps too ignorant for my role here, I would appreciate if Mr. Stevenson would describe a little bit what the legalese here involves, what exactly is going on.
Yeah, so I guess if you're looking at the project from kind of a higher level, there's a new Country View Road, which is being constructed, which is to kind of go around to the west of existing Country View Road. And as part of that, that's creating roadway that's no longer needed. However, there are properties along the existing Country View Road that still need to be accessed. And so while we're discontinuing some portions of the roadway, new roadway is being built and deeded to the city so that we can maintain. So I guess to summarize, there's land being dedicated to make sure there's no lot that's being left out. There's the discontinuance, which is just eliminating right-of-way. And when that happens, that right-of-way goes back to the underlying properties, which are adjacent to it, or theoretically who that right-of-way came from to begin with. And then the next step would be to do a new plat that kind of cleans up all of this so that it accurately and kind of cleanly shows the property lines and as well as the right-of-way. And that would happen next month.
Thank you.
I don't know if that makes it more clear or makes it
Yes,
more,
that
more
clarifies
confusing.
exactly what
I
I was hoping.
apologize.
No, that's exactly what I was hoping for. Thank you.
Okay.
Other questions or comments on this item? I guess I'll call on myself, and I will move that we recommend to the Common Council to approve the vacation and discontinuance of approximately 5.0165 acres for Country View Road with the following condition, which is the discontinuance shall become effective upon the execution of the warranty deed. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Wood. Motion before the body. Questions or comments on this motion? Commissioner Powers?
I'll abstain. The applicant is my employer.
Commissioner Hernandez, I would also ask you to abstain as well, if that's acceptable. Did we lose him?
Oh. Okay.
Oh, okay. All right, well, I guess that's an abstention too. Okay. With that, if there's no further discussion, I will call the question. All those in favor of recommending to the Common Council to approve the vacation and discontinuance of approximately 5.0165 acres for the Country View Road with the condition listed in the packet, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That motion passes with Commissioner Powers abstaining and Commissioner Hernandez not voting. With that, we move on to item 8, which is a discussion and possible action regarding the certified survey map to create 2 lots located at 110 and 112 Inchin Drive. Mr. Severson.
So I'm just making sure I got the vote right. Okay. The applicant has submitted a certified survey map to split Lot 1 into 2 lots. The existing lot is located at the northeast corner of County Highway M and Einican Drive. The lots will subdivide the existing building into 2 separate lots, where each side of the existing duplex will be on a separate lot. This will facilitate separate ownership of the lots in the future. As you can see in the graphic displayed, showing just the lot split of the two units. The new lots will be roughly 8,700 square feet and 5,700 square feet. Both would be conforming lots. However, they would need to have some easements and shared lot line agreements, which have been drafted, and so that would be a condition of approval. But other than that, staff has no issues.
Thank you for that explanation. Questions or comments on this one? Commissioner Haggard.
Just for my own clarification, I mean, there's really, the city doesn't really care one way or the other. This is just kind of helping a landowner be able to do what they want to do with their land, right? There's no pluses or minuses to the city per se?
Yeah, I guess the only thing that we're just making sure that by requiring these easements and shared wall agreements, it's essentially just to help out future owners of those lots. But there's no other concern that the city would have. In fact, if the applicant wanted to do condominium to separate ownership, they could do that and we would have no say in it. So this is probably a little bit cleaner of a way for the city to have it done.
Questions, comments, or motions? Alder Swanson.
I will move to recommend that the Common Council approve the certified survey map to split Lot 1 of the Harmony Hills subdivision into 2 lots with the following conditions. A shared wall or zero lot line maintenance agreement shall be recorded with the Dane County Register of Deeds and shared with the city for their records. B, an ingress-egress easement document shall be shared with the city for their records and must have an area depicting no vehicular access strip. And C, a water and sewer easement document shall be executed and recorded with the Dane County Register of Deeds and shared with the city of their records.
Motion by Alder Swanson. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Haggard. Motion before the body. Questions or comments on the motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of recommending to the Common Council to approve the certified survey map to split Lot 1 of the Harmony Hills subdivision into 2 lots with the 3 conditions specified in the packet, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion passes. With that, we move on to item 9, which is reports and comments from the Planning Department, including the update on development projects and the update on the comprehensive plan. Mr. Severson.
Thank you. For development projects, we have a few projects that were previously approved that are now at various stages of being underway. 1050 North Edge Trail, that is the 60-unit apartment complex. Used to be, what's that? Monks. Yes. Used to be Monks. Was already, yeah, was gone before I got here. So yes, Monks. So the demo permit for that has been issued. So demolition of the existing site, getting ready for the new building. 201 Prairie Heights Drive, that's a pharmaceutical company who is looking to move into an existing office / warehouse building. So that building permit has been issued. Excuse me, 303 West Verona, that's Ian's. So you may have noticed Ian's Pizza, you may have noticed some construction going along there. So that's underway. No date on when it's going to open and start serving pizza, but it is underway. Avalon Ridge improvements, like public improvements, have begun over the past few months. You probably noticed a lot of earth moving out there. They installed some sewer. No building permits have been issued. That's probably not going to be until spring, summer, I guess. I don't know if Ms. Fisher has any other idea of when they'll be done with their public, or I guess far enough along that they could have their building permits issued, but it's probably not going to be until spring or summer. Apex is in phase 2, which is their final phase. So Apex is the multifamily and townhome project by Fiduciary just south of PD. And then last one, 1079 American Way, which is the Wisconsin Brewery. Their kind of annex building was completed. And then, you want to go right into the comp plan stuff?
Well, I guess I would say any questions from the planning commissioners on the, all right. Okay, comp plan.
Okay. So the task force had a meeting to review the draft comprehensive plan. There was a lot of questions, comments that came out of that meeting. And so staff and the applicant are going through those and trying to address those. There was another kind of more, I guess, philosophical question on residential development and how we want to see that moving forward. And so that's something that the task force is going to be meeting on again to sort of refine those ideas and come up with a consensus. So that'll need to happen before a draft comprehensive plan is actually ready for the public to view. So it's probably not going to be for another month or two until we'll actually have something for the public. Probably closer to 2 months before we'll have something for the public to kind of view and consume.
Any questions on the comp plan update? All right, I guess with that, I would move on to item 10, which is adjournment. A motion to adjourn would be in order. Commissioner Wood.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Commissioner Wood. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Hankard. All those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Are we adjourned at 7:47 p.m.? Thank you, everyone.